And we are live. We're not live. This is
We're
a
recording.
pre-recorded. Super excited to have on the podcast today someone I met at the San Francisco Deep Tech Week, Devang. Devang is the newest kid on the block. He's for Deep Tech VC. He's an emerging manager in this space. I think OVNI, we were emerging managers 2 years ago. We're still emerging. But it's been an interesting journey, and super excited to finally have someone from the US in deep tech as a VC on the podcast. Devang, before we get started, could you tell us a bit more about your fund? What's the name of the fund? What does it focuses on?
Yeah, and Gus, thank you for having me. Excited to be here, part of OVNIs podcast, and good to talk to some of your listeners. It was great to meet you last week, and I can't wait to tell you a little bit about Superpower Ventures. That's the name of the fund that I've started. I'm the solo GP for this fund, and I've taken a non-traditional path towards the venture industry.
A unique path. We'll talk about it.
A unique path. We'll talk about it. I'll just give you a little preview. I've spent the last 20 years as a product and a go-to-market exec at companies like NVIDIA, Twilio, and most recently Snorkel AI. And
those are all companies where you've joined, at least in the products you've joined, they were small businesses, and you've left, they were billion-dollar businesses, right?
NVIDIA was already a public company when I joined them.
Right, but the product you...
Correct. The business unit that I led was built from scratch. I'll talk about a little bit more in detail. Just a little bit about Superpower Ventures. So Superpower Ventures is a first fund for me as a GP. And we primarily focus on GPU native products or startups building GPU native or using GPUs as their superpower.
So it's not AI wrappers.
It's definitely not AI wrappers. We fundamentally want to see teams that have a lot of parallel programming expertise, whether they are doing NVIDIA GPUs, AMD GPUs, any alternate methods of running parallel computing. I'll relate back to why I believe that's important. But it's very critical. This time and this phase in the market is very critical, especially as it gets unlocked through GPU and parallel programming based technologies.
We'll get into this. First thing I want to say, I love the name Superpower. It's funny, at the Deep Tech Week, I went to a GPLP conference, and someone was trying to say, what is deep tech?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're a deep tech fund.
Correct.
And you actually asked me that question earlier.
Yeah.
And someone answered, deep tech is investing in superheroes.
Yes.
Because it's people who want to solve life's biggest challenges at the moment. And superpower, I mean, you're going to need superpower to solve those problems. And if you do, you're a superpower. What's the
story behind it? Yeah. I thought very deeply about what to name the fund. And prior to venture, I liked calling myself as a storyteller. I believe that we all tell our stories to ourselves. That's how we make sense of the world. And as part of that storytelling, it was important for me to have a name that would resonate with my journey. And I believe that every entrepreneur has to have some sort of superpower.
Right.
Otherwise, it's really, really hard to take on this journey. And as far as superpower goes, you have to find out how to harness it and how to put it to use.
And this is your first entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah.
But you had a superpower. What is your superpower?
I would come back to the idea that storytelling
is your superpower.
Is my superpower. And I wouldn't say that I've fully mastered it, but that is something that I want to keep perfecting. And I do believe similarly, other people have their own superpower. Your superpower may be that you're a super connector, or your superpower may be that you're super analytical. Your superpower may be that you're a super visionary.
Okay, you need a superpower. And have you defined the superpowers you're going to look for in the entrepreneurs you back?
I believe superpower comes in all shapes and colors, but you have to believe in it. And if you know, and if you believe in your superpower, you're able to weather a lot of different storms. I know we're getting a little philosophical over here, but it's for me, as I do pre-seed and seed stage investments, my rubric of who to invest into skews very heavily towards teams.
Sure.
Because if it's the right team, it's the right founding team, they will find a pathway to weather all kinds of storms, and there will be a lot of storms. So over the course of last 20 years, I've now built $3 billion businesses, and each of those businesses have been built from the ground up. And even though I haven't been the sole entrepreneur in those journeys, I do believe that there's an extreme amount of effort that is necessary to build those businesses.
Right.
So
let me get back to you on this. You said teams, and I love that you said teams. You're a solo GP.
Correct.
And I have to say, we launched 3 years ago with my co-founder. I don't think it would have, I don't know how it is in the US, and I think the audience will love to kind of hear your feedback on this, but it was our first time fund. We do not have the level of operational experience that you have, but I guess we had more of a VC background. It took us 2 full years to raise a 50 million euro fund. It was tough. And and what I'm trying to say is, I don't think I could have done it if it weren't for my co-founder.
Yeah.
And there were times that were tough. And is your superpower
just flying solo?
Exactly.
No, I don't consider that at all. I don't believe I'm alone. Even if I say I'm a solo GP, I'm surrounded by some excellent LPs. And kudos to you, raising a $50 million fund in this environment in the last 2 years. I don't think that that's a small feat. So
it's been rough.
It's been rough, but
I've
with
lost
a
some hair.
great outcome from it. And hopefully you're investing into a company that will help you regain some of your hair. But at the same time, I don't believe that I'm a only person in this endeavor. I have excellent LPs. I have excellent network of advisors. I have an excellent network of angels who are investing with me. And that's the kind of team I want to have as part of this venture.
So before we get into your thesis, and I know we're gonna deep dive. It's I love that you say LPs are part of your team.
Yes,
but LPs don't work for free, or they're not there on a day-to-day basis with you.
Right.
How do you work with them today? Oh, I guess question before that. Sorry. So you're already on the first close.
We've done a first close. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you mention any metrics or for now? Oh, everything is confidential.
It's confidential for right now.
Okay.
But I'll just say that it's a $20 million fund that we're raising.
Okay.
Yeah.
And okay. And in terms of LPs, what do your LPs look like?
Yeah. They're primarily single family offices and high net worth individuals. These are people who have either built legacy businesses or they have been in tech before, and they still want to continue being associated with tech very deeply. And some of the people who are part of the fund as my LPs are also from my NVIDIA Angel Network. And they certainly have a very similar thesis as mine, which is why they're interested in forming this as a team. Let me just touch on this idea about, why is LP a part of your team? I mean, as a fund, there's a million things that you need to do. Even as a team, there's a million things that you need to do. For me, certainly the traditional things such as sourcing, due diligence, winning the deal, and then supporting. I would say that winning part is certainly almost entirely on my shoulders for the most part, winning a deal. But as far as sourcing goes, I tap a lot into my NVIDIA network to source deals, of course, tied very closely to my thesis. I rely a lot heavily on my LPs to help me carry out due diligence, especially at a technical level. As far as support goes, that's where it's really critical. So I run an angel network before I started the venture fund called NV Angels. And this is a group of about 100 current and ex-NVIDIA employees who've gone out and built other businesses or who have been part of other major projects in tech. And they are very willing to support our portfolio companies as advisors and potentially as future hires as well.
I love what you just said, because I felt like a lot, we have, I don't know if I told you, but we have 200 LPs. So people are like, wow, that's a shitload of LPs, right?
Yeah.
But when you're a deep tech fund, and I don't have an engineering background, we leverage our LPs almost similarly to what you said. We thought they were going to good with sourcing. I think sourcing is maybe because it's in France, it's probably more on our shoulders to kind of go and be the first one to find those emerging entrepreneurs. But where I would have to say is winning the deals, our LPs helped us.
Okay.
Massively, combined with the due diligence, because we used to say, hey, I'll introduce you to this guy. And the founder's like, wow, this is a baby VC fund, and they're connected to some guy at NVIDIA, guy. And yes, we won the deals, but if if it weren't for the LPs, we wouldn't have won the deal. So yeah, I love your answer. I do think, man, it's just tough, going to an office and when it's the third time in a row an LP says no, and a fourth time or fifth time, and I'd like to have that person next to me who, my co-founders be like, don't worry, we're gonna bounce back. But I guess you're made out of steel.
I don't know about that. I don't.
Where are you based?
I'm based in San Francisco.
So is your office in San Francisco?
Correct.
Are VC funds, deep tech VC funds at the seed level need to be in San Francisco?
I don't think so. I think there are some interesting pockets around the world where deep tech has happened even before it's happened in San Francisco. In fact, I wouldn't call San Francisco the capital of deep tech. I would call places like Oxford, or places like ETL.
Okay.
In Zurich.
In Zurich, yeah.
Even in Paris, there are some great universities. In France, and there are some great universities. So I would say that deep tech is really closely associated with academia. And that's where there are some interesting opportunities happening. But commercialization happens in metros. Commercialization of these deep tech technologies are happening in large industrial centers, probably New York, London, Paris, San Francisco, Los Angeles. And it helps if you're part of one of those networks.
And so you have a mandate to invest in the US, in Europe too, or solely the US?
Primarily US, but there's no preclusion in investing in outside of the US as well.
Sweet. Yeah, you don't have any like fiscal, I don't say the word, fiscal challenges that if you invest more than a certain percentage abroad, then your investors lose some sort of fiscal incentives.
There are some tax benefits of investing into US-based companies. What I am finding is even if companies are formed in Europe or formed even in Asia, if they are participating in this new wave of AI, they are migrating to the US as there is a significant amount of capital
and
as well as talent, and they'll flip their headquarters.
Interesting.
Yeah,
it's a big it's a big problem for us.
It is, and I think that maybe this problem is transitionary as AI starts to proliferate around the world and other centers of capital start to take off. It's not a short-term problem, but hopefully it changes soon.
Interesting. Yeah. So you're based in San Francisco, investing worldwide, but San Francisco is still a magnet for these companies you want to invest in.
Correct.
Question I have, at the GPLP meeting last week in San Francisco, I saw a lot of American GPs like you promising the best investment in deep tech in the US.
Yeah.
Would you say this deep tech scene is still emerging, right?
Yeah.
There's not many deep tech VCs, but every VC, even the historical one, are starting to build their deep tech arm.
Mm-hmm.
How competitive is it today to win a deep tech deal in the US? Can you do you have always the same people in every deal, or it's still large? I mean, the pool is large enough and the number of GPs is still small enough that you can actually create some alpha there and be the only one to invest at the pre-seed in a startup.
Yeah. I think the lines are blurring and they'll continue to blur as to what do we really call deep tech. And maybe we address this fundamental question, which is there a real definition to deep tech, or is it the only definition for deep tech is one that takes a lot of money to build?
I love this. That's your definition of deep tech?
I think that is the conventional or the streets definition of what deep tech would be. And a lot of VCs in San Francisco, the traditional, the long-term, old-school VCs will say that they want to stay as far away from deep tech as possible.
It's funny. I feel like 2 years ago, I used to send emails to potential LPs, and I used to say, "Hey, we're a deep tech VC fund." My co-founder was like, "Do not write deep tech.
Yeah,
deep tech equals forever."
Yes, that's right.
And well, we just had lunch, and one of the things we talked about is maybe this AI revolution is finally going to make deep tech something bankable.
Yeah. To me, deep tech could be defined as startups that are fundamentally anchored in research. And if you think about AI, like you just said, is the first example of deep tech going commercial in a big way.
In a big way, right.
And before this, there has been deep tech pretty prevalent in pharma, for example. CRISPR is a great technology that could, quote unquote, be considered deep tech, meets the world of startups. But when you think about software, especially enterprise SaaS, this is the first moment where a research-based product has turned into a mainstream, not just mainstream for enterprise, but mainstream consumer product.
So what you're saying is, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're saying, and I feel like I'm starting to hear that more, is the next decade of VC will be focused on deep tech. I mean, deep tech is taken, no, or it's not what you said. You said what you're saying is deep tech should promise similar returns to what software has
traditionally delivered
over the past 20 years.
Yes.
And so and I agree with you. I mean, obviously we're a bit biased, but so what that means is essentially an increasing number of VC funds are going to have to start moving towards this deep tech model.
Correct.
And a lot of funds are just going to fail at that. And a lot of them will. And
they have. So if you think about what are some of the companies that are raising the largest pre-seed or maybe even seed or Series A rounds, these are companies that have researchers on their founding team. Folks who have worked at OpenAI, but fundamentally that they have had deep research experience, folks who have worked at Anthropic or many other research labs from Meta. And that's just one very small sliver in the world of AI. But when you take the similar paradigm and apply it to robotics, when you take the same paradigm and you apply it to science or scientific simulation that has many different applications as well, you're starting to see that the capital is following the same playbook as they've applied with AI. Now, the bet that many of us are making is that initially this path from research to product to commercialization of that product has been a long path, maybe 15 years at best.
Which doesn't work because we've promised our investors we'll return the money within 10 years.
10 years, right? So the window has not fit within a venture fund, traditional venture fund windows.
Sure.
My thesis, and of course, a lot of us are thinking in the same way, is AI is going to accelerate the research itself, but also the application of that research, the productization of that research, and the commercialization of that research. And there's going to be productivity gain at every step along the way. Fewer people, fewer research hours, fewer compute resources, or cheaper compute resources. That is going to lead to a faster exit, or a faster, at least, time to revenue.
It's a fascinating concept. AI is going to enable deep tech to become VC compatible. It's interesting because I read recently that a lot of U.S. managers are starting to tell their LPs, this is not a 10-year fund. It's a 15-year fund.
Right.
Do not be misguided. You're investing in tech. It takes a long time. It's 15 years. And I think it probably was to maybe anticipate this deep tech movement. It might be to anticipate the fact that liquidity has been atrocious over the past 6 years. But when I hear you, maybe the 10-year time frame is going to remain standard,
Yeah. There are a few changes that are happening. I think one of this deep tech tailwind is the actual application of AI. And deep tech, if you think about, so let me just back up a little bit. Let's think about AI in the way that the market is maturing. And I like this exercise a lot because this was the exercise that I've done over the last 20 years. Initially, I'd done this exercise for CUDA. I was one of the first product managers for CUDA at NVIDIA. And Jensen used to talk a lot about this idea of building $0 billion markets. And CUDA at the time was definitely a $0 billion market. But we mapped out, what does a future indicator of success look like if CUDA or this as a technology were to turn into a $1 billion market. Now it's turned into a $1 trillion market.
It's the concept of 0 to 1. Also,
it's a concept
right?
of 0 to 1.
Like basically you're building a market that doesn't exist, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And similarly, I built a new business at Twilio called Customer Engagement Platform that grew to about $500 million in 4 years. And this was about taking Twilio's APIs and turning them into more enterprise-oriented applications. Similarly, a 0 to 1 motion. And then at Snorkel, where I was the head of marketing, taking Snorkel's research-based approach to data labeling, which is how AI models are trained, and applying them with fewer human resources.
Can you remind us what Snorkel is?
So Snorkel was formed out of Stanford AI Lab. And it was based on this idea that instead of labeling every single data point to train AI models using humans, which is what companies like Scale and several others are doing,
Sure.
you use models to do that training. And that paradigm...
Wait, so synthetic data?
You could think about it as synthetic data, but it's also actual data that is being just labeled automatically.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's now, Snorkel is now valued at $1.3 billion and supports, customers that are top 10 US banks, several government agencies.
Could Tesla be a client?
Potentially.
Okay.
Snorkel's primary focus right now is on text-based applications.
Okay.
So several large LLM providers, if you think about them as a target market. But coming back to AI, the fundamental landscape of AI, if you think about it, in the last 4 years has been the rollout of GPU or AI infrastructure. And of course, when I talk about AI infrastructure, 95% of AI infrastructure is GPU-based.
Sure.
There are some other technologies like Cerebras and Grok and a few others, but 95% of the market, or maybe even more, is primarily GPU-based. That market is about, call it $300 billion market, and is growing really fast and continues to grow faster.
300 billion market in what? In terms of yearly sales of GPUs?
No, in terms of just the market size, and yes, annual revenues, if you think about it that way. Beyond this, there's application of AI for enterprises, and we're starting to see adoption of enterprise AI happen pretty significantly. That's about roughly $150 billion market.
Okay.
And beyond that is a consumer application of AI. We're just starting to see really interesting things that AI can do.
For us consumers, yeah.
For us consumers, right? Whether it's on the creative side, whether it's on productivity side for consumers, whether it's just delight and engagement with newer things. Beyond that, there is another wave or another application, which is the deep tech application of AI. And this is in things such as scientific simulations, high throughput of data systems. Robotics could be considered that. Building the next foundation of infrastructure, which is quantum, could be considered in that phase too. Now, quantum is a market of its own. But how do you get to quantum is a market that AI will accelerate.
Those are $1 trillion potential markets. Robotics,
all of those individually are
data.
$1 trillion markets. Yeah.
And so if we go back to your fund, and we'll go back to, you've made your first investments?
We made 6 investments so far.
6 investments, and you've made. Just curious for emerging managers listening to us, or LPs too. Have you've sized them for a $20 million fund?
Correct.
What happens if you raise a $40 million fund?
That's a very good question. That will be a good problem to have once I get there. A couple of things that can happen. One, we just increase the size of investments.
Subsequent checks, right?
Yep. Or we increase the size of our checks. I have gotten some feedback from some of the LPs, like you said. There's always 3 people who say no to you or 4 people who say no to you before one says yes. And oftentimes, I've heard from especially larger LPs that the fund size is too small for them to consider. And if I end up in that situation where it's a much larger fund, I think that would be a good resolution.
Yeah, it's tough because you anticipate a 20, it goes to 40. I mean, and all your first investments, well, they're a bit. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, that's good.
But I mean, it's definitely a good problem to have, right?
Yeah.
I've actually met an emerging manager. He wanted to raise 200 million, and his first checks were sized for a 200 million fund. He raised 125.
Yeah.
So you can't. So you wanted you want a portfolio of 30 companies, 30 to 40. I think you'd only be able to get to 20.
Yes. Yeah.
So statistic. So you made 6 investments. You've shared. I mean, are they public? None.
Not all of them.
Not all of them.
No, some of them are, but not all of them.
Could we talk about one and go back into your thesis and how that applies to your specific thesis?
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about this one particular investment. The name of the company is called Nixla, and they built a foundation model.
Nixla.
Nixtla.
Nixtla. Nixla. Okay.
Which I believe in Aztec means time.
Okay.
And this is a company that was formed out of Mexico City, which is why they have roots in that language, and it closely ties to what they've built.
But wait, it's a C corp or it's a Mexican company?
No, it's a C corp.
It's a C corp.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they now are based in San Francisco. Their CEO and founder is Max, and what they built is a first foundation model for time series forecasting. So if you think about foundation models, which is what Llama and GPT-3, GPT-4 are, transformer-based models, they take in text, or they take in images, or they take in video, and they turn it into text, images, or video.
Sure.
And what Nixla has built, it takes in time series data, which is data how stock moves, or how weather changes, or how inventory changes over time, and then produces a prediction about what it could be in a newer time period. And this is a very classic use case in enterprise, because if you think about it, the world runs on forecasts.
Right.
And this is a fundamental enterprise use case that they've built. There have been a lot of models in this space, but there haven't been many foundation models. In fact,
it's just a GPT-4 and a little layer on top. No, not Nixla, but like the historical competition is just a bit of GPT-4 and some.
No, actually, so GPT-4 type of models, LLMs, are not very good at time series forecasting.
Yeah, but that's so like but the historical, what would their historical competition doing?
Models are a collection of models which are largely based on predictive architectures, so non-transformer architectures.
And so why is a GPT-4 plus a little layer on top not good enough for time series forecasting?
Yeah, so time series forecasting on its own is a very different type of modality, right? So if you think about text versus images can be thought about as a very different modality, right? You can't expect a text-based model to suddenly start generating images. In fact, in the image domain, we've started to see diffusion models, or we've seen diffusion models as being an alternative architecture for those models to produce a more appropriate type of text, or appropriate type of images. Similarly, in time series, you have to have the right kind of algorithm. Even if the architecture is very similar to a transformer architecture, you need to have the right kind of algorithm to be able to predict with accuracy. Because for time series forecasting, accuracy is the most critical aspect, right? If your forecast is, off by 10%, it could have consequences significantly when you're trying to plan your, sales inventory. The other thing is that there's a different paradigm to how these models learn and how these models can be steered. So when you think about learning, the way models learn, especially LLMs, learn through reinforcement learning. And in time series forecasting, there's a different paradigm that they learn through. And in large language models, the paradigm for steering is things like prompt engineering or RAG or fine tuning is applied differently in time series forecasting.
Because time series forecast, why? Is it because you always have to, you predict something, and you can constantly check if you are right?
That's part of it in training, but also at the same time, the way that the data is treated is quite different. So coming back to thesis, fundamentally, time series forecasting is a deep tech use case.
I was actually going to ask you, is this a deep tech company?
And the way that they have built their transformer model utilizes GPUs in a pretty direct and fundamental way.
Right. Yeah, it's not an AI wrapper. Going back to, because the line is a little blurry, but I'm getting to what you're saying. These guys are actually building a model. It's not just some layers that they're actually building some. And who are they selling to? Are they selling to the existing softwares that sell predictive modeling, or do they actually want to do the front end as well and sell the product?
Yeah, so their product is
B2C or versus B2B.
B2D is their
what does that mean?
Business to developers. So
so business to developer.
Yeah.
Right.
So essentially, their technology is available through a hosted model, which is modeled as an API, and they sell to small startups all the way up to large enterprises.
But they sell to startups, and then startups package right, exactly. They package. They don't use. They could use it for themselves.
Correct.
But they package it to sell it, a bit like Anthropic sells its model to, or ChatGPT. OpenAI sells the ChatGPT model to.
Correct. One example is there is a company that sells cookies.
Okay.
And they are a customer.
The cookie, what's it called? That company, the Cookie PM or something.
Yeah. So that's
it. And okay, so I can see the types of companies you invest in. I was going to ask you a question. Are there enough of these companies? I want to say in San Francisco, but you're not looking just in San Francisco.
Correct. Yeah.
Because to me, it's this world where the large startups we're basically leveraging GPU. I've created this sort of almost monopoly, and so it's going to be tough to kind of emerge.
Right.
For guys like Nixla.
Yeah.
Because obviously I'm not an expert, but I would think like, a lot of VCs are going to be scared investing in Nixla because they're going to be like, next iteration of GPT or OpenAI is going to do one model on this, or next generation will be able to. So going back to the question, are there enough of these startups for you to deploy a $20 million
fund? Yeah.
Or $40 million?
Yeah. In my opinion, yes, there are, because I'll just go back to 10 years ago, right? When CUDA wasn't as big as it has become now, and AI wasn't the primary use case at the time. It was called deep learning, and it was one of the 25 different use cases that was
CUDA
was used for. So
by the way, CUDA, for people who don't know, it was a software layer of NVIDIA.
Correct.
To try to sell, to evangelize people. I don't know if you.
Yeah. So it's a software layer that allows a software engineer to directly use the GPU.
Right.
In a way in which it can benefit from the parallel computing of the GPU. So if you think about a CPU, they've got few threads. A GPU has thousands of threads, and threads is the amount of computing that you can do at the same time. And so
going back to CUDA, when you're just getting started.
Yeah. So there were about 100 some use cases, and within them about 15 to 20 were the top use cases, deep learning being one of them that has turned into this big wave of AI. There are many other use cases, even outside of AI. There is scientific simulation. In fact, one of the first deployments of GPUs using CUDA was done in high-performance computing systems, especially supercomputers. And if you see the trajectory of how the supercomputing market has changed, today at least 40 to 50% of those supercomputers around the world are being run with GPUs. And they have applications that are doing things like drug discovery, new material discovery, physics simulations.
I have this, obviously it's not my thesis, but I have this vision of like consumer products, or very much. And so what you're saying is there's hundreds of potential use case in more B2B businesses or business, day-to-day businesses. And so your deal flow is a lot more bigger than I can think of.
It's narrow in one ways, and it's also deep in other ways. Fundamentally, the markers that I want to see are, one, do you have a deep expertise in parallel programming? Is your product accelerating the current state of the art by 10 to 100x? And then do you have an exceptional advantage in terms of execution? I do believe that execution is the moat these days when it comes to anything with AI, but particularly in this domain. And I've, the kind of places that I've worked, I've seen that what are the benefits of great execution and what are some of the downfalls of when you find yourself being stuck over and over.
Before we get to the rapid fire questions, I have 4 questions I wanted to ask you. You're not prepared, by the way. Those are not tricky questions. I want to ask you, when did you launch Superpower?
We've launched earlier this year.
Early 2025.
Early 2025, yeah.
What would you say has been the most challenging aspect of your job?
Yeah. I
think
it's just discovering. There have been a couple, right? One, I come from a non-traditional VC background, so I don't have a very deep investor network. I have a deep startup network. I have a deep advisory network. I don't have a deep LP network. And I also want to make sure, like I said, that there is a strong LP-GP fit. I do believe that LPs are part of my team, and I want to make sure that any LPs I onboard are able to participate as that team member. So for me, discovering the right type of investors has been, I would say, an effort of labor. The second part is just refining the thesis. Initially, last year, as I was thinking about the fund and I was looking at, what are the different ways in which I can really drive alpha, I was broadly focused on AI. And while that has not necessarily fundamentally changed, I do believe that where I see my advantage, my superpowers, my network, my capability, my ability to help these startups.
Your unfair advantage.
My unfair advantage is related to GPU native products. And that's what's been refined over time.
Right. So it's been how to talk to LPs how to spot, identify, and talk to LPs.
Connect. Not necessarily.
I could say I share that. I mean, it's tough. I mean, every LP is different. You know, it's funny. I talked to an American GP and I told him, do you think, I'm pitching him my thesis, and he's like, and I'm telling him, do you think LPs are going to be receptive to this thesis in the US? And he said, LPs and receptive don't go together. And the second one, I think, yeah, you're right, the investment. I like your investment thesis. Like, I've met a lot of GPs, a lot of people saying AI this, AI that. And I do think your superpower you spent 10 years at NVIDIA?
Correct.
I mean, who spent 10 years at NVIDIA and launching his fund? Yeah, I'd be curious to know how many VCs have spent 10 years at NVIDIA.
Yeah.
And then joined Twilio pre-IPO and then...
joined a seed stage company that's now...
exactly. Yeah. Joined a seed stage company that became a $1 billion company. Cool. Let me ask you 4 quick questions. In 5 years, that was one. In 5 years, LLMs will be...
The obvious answer was everywhere.
Yeah.
But...
it's a good one.
Yeah. LLMs will be nowhere to be found.
Nowhere to be found.
Because LLMs will be... everything will be LLMs.
Right. Yeah, okay, interesting. I thought you were going to say like maybe very fragmented, but in a sense, it's kind of what you're saying. Like I meant like based on your investment, like, yeah, there'll be LLMs from every single different company addressing different use cases.
Sure.
Overhyped tech today. Do you see a bubble somewhere? You don't have to crap on anyone, but
no, it's
it's a tough question. I'm trying to think of it myself. I'm like, crap, what would I answer?
Yeah. Okay.
We don't have to.
I'll give you this answer, which is, in general, I am a tech optimist. In general, I'm an optimist in life, but especially when it comes to tech, I'm an optimist. I will reshape the question a little bit to say, what is underperforming? So I know what you asked the question was, what is overperforming? What is overhyped? And I fundamentally believe that AI is not overhyped. We're still scratching the surface. I do believe that where there's a hidden opportunity is where mobile meets AI. I don't believe that we have fundamentally seen a delightful experience delivered by AI in a mobile app interface.
So it's not overhyped. So
that's where I would say, some disappointment, and I would want to see some exciting things happen in the mobile world that are AI driven.
But I like your answer saying like, look, because a lot of people would say like AI, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe it's a trick question. It's like, oh, AI is overhyped. Then what you're saying is AI is just getting started.
AI is absolutely getting started.
Underappreciated AI startup idea.
Mm.
Is this something?
Yeah.
You almost started a company, right?
I did. Yes. That's the part that led me down the path of venture, but we'll talk about it another day. Underappreciated AI. So there's a lot of talk about AI replacing humans. And we are starting to see that maybe some of that is becoming true. But We're also starting to see that humans are fundamentally becoming more productive. I know I am more productive because of AI. I feel this sense of empowerment that I may not know something, but I will know a response in a short amount of time because I have tools in my pocket that will help me do that. And I'll be smarter because of that response or because of that information. Now,
so productivity, I mean, there's still tons to do in productivity.
But I think that there's a different way to look at this challenge too, which is the hidden opportunity in AI is not technology, it's actually human capital. So
until it isn't.
Until it isn't, but
that'll be a different podcast. That will be a philosophical podcast.
Yeah. So for me, I don't believe that we've seen enough startups that are focusing on how to directly make humans the center of that AI sphere, and whether it's making defense teams a lot more agile and a lot more connected, whether it's making their workforce a lot more connected and a lot more productive, both as a team and as an individual level. So I do believe that human capital, unlocking human capital using AI is a hidden opportunity.
we're getting close to the 40-minute mark. I hope you guys enjoyed this discussion with Devang. If you're building, I think you know now, if you're building, if what you're building can be a match for Superpower, how do we get in touch with you?
Yeah,
Devang?
super easy. My name is Devang, Devang, at superpower.ventures, and
I like that.
or find me on LinkedIn.
Ventures.
Yeah.
Okay. Or find you on
Superpower.ventures and find me on LinkedIn.
Find on you.
Yeah.
Devang, thank you for coming to Paris. You didn't come to Paris just for this podcast, but it's a pleasure having you in Paris. Sorry, for this podcast. I hope to see you soon in San Francisco, and I hope everyone enjoyed the podcast.
Excellent. Thanks, Gus, for having me. Thanks
Bye.
for listening.